The late afternoon light was beginning to fail, surrendering to a soft, slate-gray sky that promised rain. Inside the house, the air was still and thick with the comfortable silence of a Tuesday. I sat for a moment at the kitchen table, running my hand over the grain of the wood, listening to the rhythmic ticking of the wall clock and the low, rumbling purr of Barnaby, our ginger cat, who had curled himself into a croissant shape on the cushioned chair beside me.
There is a specific kind of hollowness that comes at this time of day. Not a sadness, but a quiet space that asks to be filled. The refrigerator was humming its steady, low drone, but I knew its contents were sparse. A few eggs, a jar of pickles, half a lemon. Instead of feeling like a chore, the emptiness felt like an invitation. The house was warm, but the air outside looked crisp. It was the perfect time for the supermarket. I stood up, the chair scraping gently against the floorboards, and moved to the small utility room by the back door. I pulled on my thick wool cardigan, the one with the wooden buttons that always smelled faintly of lavender sachets, and slipped my feet into my walking boots. I grabbed the canvas tote bags hanging from the peg, their fabric.
Hey everyone, let's head up! This is going to be great! Almost there!
I'm going to the shops.
Softened by years of use, stained faintly with the ghosts of strawberries and spinach from summers past. I'm going to the shops, I called out softly to the upper floor, where Wren was sanding down an old bookshelf in the spare room. Okay, came the muffled reply, followed by the soft shh sound of sandpaper on wood. Pick up something warm for dinner? Something warm, I promised. Stepping outside, the air was cool and smelled of damp earth and incoming rain. I walked down the garden path, pausing to check the pots by the gate. The rosemary bush was thriving, its needle-like leaves fragrant when I brushed my fingers against them. I snapped off a small sprig, tucking it into my pocket, grounding myself with the scent of pine and lemon. The walk to the market was short, a 10-minute stroll through the village streets where streetlights were just beginning to flicker on, casting pools of amber light on the damp pavement. I loved this time of day, the magic hour, when the world transitions from the busyness of the day to the sanctuary of the night. The supermarket sliding doors parted with a welcoming whoosh, and a gentle wave of climate-controlled air washed over me. It wasn't a massive, sterile hypermarket, but a local grocery store, the kind with low ceilings and aisles that felt manageable, almost cozy. The lighting was bright but warm, reflecting off the polished linoleum floors. I grabbed a small basket, the metal handle cool against my palm, and began my slow wander. There is a profound, understated therapy in the supermarket. It is a place of abundance and order, where life is organized into rows of color and texture. I started in the produce section, the heart of the store. The misters had just gone off over the greens, leaving the lettuce and kale glistening with tiny diamonds of water. I reached out and picked up a head of broccoli, feeling its dense, bumpy coolness. I placed it in the basket. Next were the root vegetables. I wanted to make a stew, something thick, Japanese-style cream stew with heavy root vegetables. I sorted through the potatoes, looking for the ones with the smoothest skins, brushing off a little dusting of dry soil. I chose 3 large russets and a bag of carrots. The carrots were vibrant orange, cheerful against the earthy tones of the potatoes. I weighed an onion in my hand, its papery golden skin rustling like dry leaves. Into the basket it went. I took my time. There was no rush.
1 baguette, 1 milk, and bananas.
I watched a mother pushing a cart with a small child in the seat. The child was holding a box of crackers with intense, solemn focus. We exchanged a brief, soft smile. I moved to the mushroom aisle. I selected a packet of shimeji mushrooms. They're small.
Wow, this basket is full of fresh veggies. It's a bit heavy, but so productive. Time to take out these fresh vegetables. These carrots look perfect. Now for the rest.
All brown caps clustered together, and a tray of thick king oysters. I imagined chopping them later, the knife sliding through their firm texture, the earthy scent they would release when they hit the hot butter. The ambient music in the store was a low instrumental piano melody, barely audible over the hum of the freezers. I walked past the dairy section, the air growing colder. I picked up a carton of heavy cream and a block of salted butter. I paused to look at the yogurts, rearranging a few that had been placed crookedly on the shelf, a small act of tidying that felt satisfying. Then, the dry goods aisle. This was my favorite. Rows of jars, boxes, and packets. I found the box of cream stew roux, the packaging familiar and comforting. I also picked up a small bag of short grain rice. The sound of the rice grains shifting inside the bag was like a rain stick, a dry, rushing noise that spoke of future fullness. I wandered down the snack aisle, just to look. The crinkle of packaging, the bright colors. I decided on a treat for later, a packet of chocolate-covered biscuits and a bottle of sparkling melon soda, the green liquid glowing under the store lights like a potion. My basket was getting heavy now, dragging slightly on my arm, a weight that felt good, productive. I made one last stop at the bakery section.
Oh, it smells so good. Perfect.
It was late in the day, so the selection was smaller, but the smell of yeast and toasted flours still lingered. I chose a loaf of soft white milk bread, unsliced. I could picture tearing chunks of it off to dip into the stew, the crust yielding to the hot, creamy broth.
At the checkout, the rhythm of the scanner was hypnotic. Beep, beep, beep. The cashier, a lady I saw every week, nodded as she slid the items down the belt. I packed my canvas bags methodically, heavy root vegetables at the bottom, boxes and jars in the middle, the fragile bread and eggs perched on top. The act of packing groceries is a game of Tetris, a small moment of
That smells wonderful. Almost ready now.
engineering to ensure everything arrives home safe.
Walking back, the rain had finally started, a gentle drizzle that misted my face. I hugged the grocery bag to my chest, shielding the bread, feeling the bulk of the food against me. It felt like carrying a treasure. I was bringing sustenance home. When I unlocked the front door, the warmth of the house wrapped around me like a blanket. The smell of the rosemary in my pocket mixed with the scent of old wood and the faint.
Let's give this a stir. Perfect. I made this fresh today. Please, help yourself.
Dust of Wren's sanding. I'm back, I called softly, toeing off my boots. Wren appeared at the top of the stairs, dusting his hands on his jeans. Perfect timing. I just finished. We met in the kitchen. Unpacking the groceries was a ritual in itself. I placed the items on the wooden counter. The bright carrots, the golden onion, the carton of milk, the blue box of stew mix. It looked like a still life painting.
I'll start the rice, Wren said, moving to the sink to wash the grains. The sound
Here you go.
Looks good, thanks.
And one for you.
He's eager.
of water rushing into the metal bowl and the swishing of his hand through the rice was the soundtrack to my preparation.
I put on my apron, the linen fabric soft and worn. I began to prep the vegetables. This was the meditation of cooking. I washed.
This is really nice.
It is. I'm glad we're doing this.
This looks delicious.
It really does. Good job. Looks like someone's hungry.
He looks hungry.
He's always hungry for treats.
Here you go, buddy.
Such a
The
good
potatoes, scrubbing the skins until they were clean. then peeled them in
this is
long,
so
satisfying
good.
ribbons.
I love homemade
Snick,
stew.
snick, snick. The peeler revealed the creamy white flesh beneath. I chopped them into large, uneven chunks.
I sliced the onions into
This is delicious, isn't it?
It really is. I'm glad you like it. And the cat agrees.
wedges. I
this is
heated the heavy
delicious.
cast iron
It
pot on
really
the
is,
stove,
I'm glad.
adding a knob of butter. As it melted, foaming and sizzling, the kitchen began to fill with the scent of warming dairy. I added the chicken and onions, the pan hissing a welcoming greeting. The wooden spoon scraped against the bottom of the pot, moving the ingredients around until they were glazed and fragrant. Outside, the rain had picked up, tapping a steady rhythm against the kitchen window pane. It made the warmth inside feel even more precious.
That
The
smells
windows were beginning to
wonderful.
fog up from the
Now,
steam of the
let's
pot.
give it a
I added the
taste.
water and the
Perfect.
vegetables, bringing it all to a gentle simmer. Now it was just a matter of waiting, the stewing time. While the pot bubbled quietly, a low bloop, bloop sound, I wiped down the counters, drying the water droplets around the sink. Ren had set the table. He laid out the placemats, the ceramic bowls we had bought at a pottery fair 2 years ago, and the heavy silverware. He lit a small candle in the center of the table, the flame flickering and reflecting in the darkened window. 20 minutes, I said, lifting the lid of the pot to stir. A cloud of savory steam billowed up, smelling of onion, chicken, and earth. I broke the blocks of roux into the pot and watched them dissolve, turning the thin broth into a rich, velvety white sauce. I poured in the milk, stirring slowly until the color was a pale, creamy ivory. Finally, I added the broccoli florets, letting them steam on top just until they turned a vibrant emerald green.
Ready, I whispered.
We sat down. The ladle poured the thick stew into the bowls, heavy with potatoes and meat. I tore the loaf of milk bread into thick slices, placing them in a woven basket between us. For the first few minutes, we didn't speak. We just ate. The stew was hot, scalding in a pleasant way, coating the throat with warmth. The carrots were sweet and soft, melting on the tongue. The potatoes had soaked up the creamy sauce. I dipped a piece of the fluffy bread into the bowl, watching it absorb the liquid, then took a bite. It was the taste of comfort. It was the taste of the supermarket aisle, of the rain outside, of the kitchen safety. It's good, Ren said, his voice low and appreciative. He looked tired but happy, the dust of his work washed away, replaced by the glow of a hot meal. I'm glad, I smiled, taking a sip of the melon soda, the bubbles fizzing sharply against the richness of the stew. After dinner, we cleaned up together. The water in the sink was hot and sudsy. I washed, passing the soapy dishes to Ren, who dried them with a tea towel. The clinking of clean china being stacked away was the final note of the meal. We wiped the table, blew out the candle, and turned off the overhead lights, leaving only the soft glow of the under-cabinet lamps. The evening stretched out before us,
These
lazy
peppers
and
look
unhurried.
So fresh.
We
This
moved
one
to the
is
living
perfect.
room.
I'll take it.
Ren
now
picked
for
up his
some
book,
tomatoes.
sinking into the corner of the sofa. I sat on the rug near the heater, pulling a basket of yarn toward me. I was knitting a scarf, a simple
It's
pattern
so
of knit and
peaceful in
pearl
here.
in a deep forest
It is.
green. The clicking
our
of my
little friend
needles
agrees.
joined the sound of Ren turning pages and the rain drumming on the roof. Barnaby, having finished his own dinner, walked into the room and kneaded the cushion next to me before settling down with a deep sigh. I worked the yarn through my fingers, watching the fabric grow row by row,